The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors have been proudly serving the people of this community since 1918. Service is our motto. The poor, the rich, the middle class and all are given the best of care and attention at all times. You have the privilege to select what you want. In your time of need, contact the capable, the competent, and the dependable staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home who is genuinely concerned with your care. At J.W. Williams Funeral Home, you are aptly served by the proprietor president, Deacon Arthur L. Parker, who continues the traditions and values set forth by the past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams. Your announcements for the J.W. Williams Funeral Home Sunday morning program are Deacon Arthur L. Parker, Reverend Isaac H. Owens, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, Minister Frankie Harmon, Ms. Sandra Johnson, and Deacon Earl Clark, Jr.
Thank you, and good morning, friends. We come to you this morning to bring announcements, dedications, and songs. We certainly hope that your day may be brighter after listening to our program. The family of Mr. Charlie C. Sneed of DeSoto, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane of Pinehurst, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for the food, the flowers, the condolences, and all other expressions of sympathy and kindness shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. Mr. Charlie C. Sneed, age 87, of 133 Tarbert Street, DeSoto, Georgia, died Saturday, November 11th at the Phoebe Putnam Memorial Hospital in Albany, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Charlie C. Sneed, age 87, was held Monday, November 20th, in the sanctuary of the Antioch Baptist Church in DeSoto, Georgia. The Reverend Lorenza Mullins, pastor, officiated. The Reverend Eugene Hall, pastor of the Jackson Grove Baptist Church, delivered the eulogy. The burial followed in the churchyard cemetery. Survivors include his loving and caring son, Mr. Otis Holcomb of Columbus, Georgia, Minister Niall Yerby Sr. and his wife, Mrs. Alice Yerby of Americus, Georgia. Four beloved grandchildren, Ms. Cheryl Holcomb of Columbus, Georgia, Mr. Niall E. Yerby Jr. and Ms. Jaquise J. Yerby, both of Americus, Georgia, and Ms. Natalia Jackson of Washington, D.C. Two great-grandchildren, a beloved and devoted brother, Mr. Robert Sneed, and his wife, Mrs. Frances Sneed of Hartwell, Georgia. His beloved nephew, Mr. Robert A. Sneed, and his wife, Mrs. Felicia Sneed of Powder Springs, Georgia. His beloved nieces, Ms. Wyetta Daniel, and her husband, Mr. Robert Daniels of Lithonia, Georgia, and Ms. Colleen A. Sneed of Linden Springs, Georgia. A host of beloved cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Charlie C. Sneed, age 87, of 133 Tarver Street, DeSoto, Georgia. Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson, age 86, of 807 Grant Street, Vienna, Georgia, died Wednesday, November 15th at the Perry Hospital in Perry, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson, age 86, was held Saturday, November 25th, in the sanctuary of the Haynesville Missionary Baptist Church in Haynesville, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend David McLeod, officiated. The eulogy was delivered by the Reverend Keith Othen. The burial followed in the churchyard cemetery. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Tracy Mowat and her husband, Mr. Curtis Mowat, and Mrs. Ragley Woodson Johnson and her husband, Mr. Frank Johnson, all of Irvington, New Jersey. Miss Lysandra Foster of Perry, Georgia. Miss Tanya Woodson and her husband, Mr. Derek Woodson of Vienna, Georgia. Miss Waretha Cook and her husband, Mr. Chris Cook of Albany, Georgia. And Mr. Dwayne Chambers of Elizabeth, New Jersey. 16 beloved grandchildren, 19 great-grandchildren. Her devoted sister, Ms. Norma Taylor of Elko, Georgia. Her beloved brothers, Mr. Ronnie Davis of Hawkinsville, Georgia, and Mr. Lonnie Boone of Atlanta, Georgia. Her beloved aunt, Miss Estella Duhart of Warner Robins, Georgia. Miss Corrine Duhart of Delray Beach, Florida. Her godmother, Mrs. Alice West of Unadilla, Georgia. A host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson, age 86, of 807 Grant Street, Vienna, Georgia. Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell, age 71, of 1116 McClendon Court, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, November 13th at the Chris Regional Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell, age 71, was held Saturday, November 25th in the sanctuary of the Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church in Cordele, Georgia. The pastor, Reverend Cecil Stroder, officiated. The burial followed at the Sunnyside Cemetery in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted sisters, Mrs. Sheila Patrick and her husband, Deacon J.C. Patrick, Mrs. Linda Hall Walker, and Mrs. Mary Hall Gray and her companion, Mr. Jeffrey Rogers, all of Cordele, Georgia. Miss Marilyn Hall Gouvet of Albany, Georgia, and Miss Laverne Hall of Alpharetta, Georgia. Her stepdaughter, Miss Shay Pickard, and her husband, Mr. Kenneth Pickard. Her loving goddaughter, Miss Shakita McCrae Dismute. Her loving sister-in-law, Mrs. Jan Peacock of Cordele, Georgia. A special friend, Mr. John Dawson of Cordele, Georgia. Her loving best friend, Miss Liz Hamilton of Cordele, Georgia. And a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends, to include Miss Veronica Langston of Cordele, Georgia. Survived Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell, age 71, of 1116 McClendon Court, Cordele, Georgia. Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane, age 84, of 493 Crane Street, Pinehurst, Georgia, died Thursday, November 16th at Navison Health in Macon, Georgia. The funeral service for Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane, age 84, was held Saturday, November 25th in the sanctuary of her beloved Evergreen Missionary Baptist Church in Pinehurst, Georgia. The pastor, the Reverend John Briggs, officiated. The burial followed at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mrs. Linda Faye Horsley and her husband, Mr. Dwight Horsley, Mr. Willie Ray Crane and his wife, Mrs. LaShonda Crane, Mrs. Lavora Holt and her husband, Mr. Elijah Holt, Mrs. Leela Efford and her husband, Mr. Melvin Efford, Mr. Calvin Bailey and his wife, Mrs. Deborah Bailey, Mr. Rufus Crane and his wife, Mrs. Amanda Crane, all of Warner Robins, Georgia. Mr. Grandy Gary and his wife, Mrs. Mary Gary of Rockingham, North Carolina. Mrs. Geraldine Holly and Mrs. Marilyn Leonard, both of Miami, Florida. Mr. Israel Crane of Vienna, Georgia, and Mr. Vitt T. Crane III of Fort Valley, Georgia. 96 beloved grandchildren, 67 great-grandchildren, 22 great-great-grandchildren, a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends, to include Miss Lily Crane of Pinehurst, Georgia, Miss Shirley Woodson of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Jimmy Anderson of Miami, Florida. Survived Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane, age 84, of 493 Crane Street, Pinehurst, Georgia. Again, the family of Mr. Charlie C. Sneed of DeSoto, Georgia, the family of Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson of Vienna, Georgia, the family of Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell of Cordele, Georgia, the family of Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane of Pinehurst, Georgia, would like to thank their many friends for all of the many kindnesses shown to them during their hours of sorrow and bereavement during the past week. May God bless each of you, is their prayer. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors serving Cordele and Vienna were in charge of each of these arrangements during the past week. And now, it is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcements. Mr. Charles Johnson Jr., age 73, of 5150 U.S. Highway 41 North, Ashburn, Georgia, died Monday, November 20th at the Tiff General Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted wife, Mrs. Vicky Shine Johnson of Ashburn, Georgia. His beloved children, Mr. Charles Johnson III of Dublin, Georgia, Mr. Terry Grant of California, Ms. Jessica Morgan of Tifton, Georgia, Ms. Angelique Douglas, and Mr. James Johnson, both of Atlanta, Georgia, Mr. Kenneth Johnson of Ashburn, Georgia. 14 beloved grandchildren. His beloved sisters, Mrs. Virginia Smith, Ms. Jessie Leggett, and Miss Terry S. Brown, all of Ashburn, Georgia. Miss Yvonne Sims of Detroit, Michigan, and Miss Shirley Tubbs of South Carolina. His beloved brothers, Mr. Dale Griffin of South Carolina, Mr. Johnny Leggett Jr. of Texas, Mr. Richard Leggett of Las Vegas, Nevada. His sisters-in-law, Ms. Joanne Leggett and Ms. Betty Leggett, both of Ashburn, Georgia, and Mrs. Helen Shine of Tifton, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, many cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Charles Johnson Jr., age 73, of 5150 U.S. Highway 41 North, Ashburn, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Charles Johnson Jr., age 73, will be held Thursday, November 30th at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Madison Avenue Church of God by Faith in Ashburn, Georgia. The pastor, Dr. Larry Coffey, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Garden in Ashburn, Georgia. The public visitation will be Wednesday, November 29th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Miss Lucille Hillman, age 83, of 715 Story Street, Ashburn, Georgia, died Tuesday, November 21st at the Emory St. Joseph Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Mr. Rodney Hillman and his wife, Mrs. Doreen Hillman, and Miss Rachel Whitsett, all of Ashburn, Georgia. 6 beloved grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, a beloved brother, Mr. Larry Hillman of Atlanta, Georgia. 2 sisters-in-law, Mrs. Mabel Hillman and Mrs. Inez Hillman, both of Ashburn, Georgia. 2 godchildren, Mr. DeMarcus Simmons and Mr. Ricardo Laster. 2 bonus grandchildren, a host of nieces, nephews, and cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survive. Miss Lucille Hillman, age 83, of 715 Story Street, Ashburn, Georgia. The funeral service for Miss Lucille Hillman, age 83, will be held Thursday, November 30th at 2:30 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Greater St. Luke Baptist Church in Ashburn, Georgia, with the minister selected officiating. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Garden in Ashburn, Georgia. The public visitation will be Wednesday, November 29th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mr. Roy Lee Dawson, age 61, of 309 West 28th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, November 20th at the Cordele Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his beloved children, Miss Jasmine Dawson, Mr. Travis Dawson and his wife, Miss Nidra Dawson, Mr. Tyreek Dawson, all of Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Tawan Dawson and his wife, Mrs. Vicky Dawson, and Miss Armani Rashid, all of Jacksonville, Florida. 9 beloved grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild, a beloved and devoted sister, Mrs. Norma Jean Dawson Hicks of Cordele, Georgia, Mrs. Annie Lee Thomas of Hackensack, New Jersey, and Miss Jenny Lee Hampton of Covington, Georgia. His beloved brother, Mr. Ricky Dawson Sr., Mr. Joe Dennis Dawson, and Mr. David Hutchinson, all of Vienna, Georgia. A host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends to include Mrs. Barbara Freeman, Ms. Rosalind Porter, Mr. Joseph Maynard, all survived Mr. Roy Lee Dawson, age 61, of 309 West 28th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Roy Lee Dawson, age 61, will be held Saturday, December 2nd, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the chapel of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The burial will follow at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley, age 20, of 1366 Dayspring Trace, Lawrenceville, Georgia, died Saturday, November 11th at Wellstar North Fulton Hospital in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted mother, Mrs. Deanna Day Williams Cleckley of Lawrenceville, Georgia, his loving and caring father, Mr. Damian Cleckley of West Henrietta, New York, his beloved sister, Miss Denia T. Cleckley of Lawrenceville, Georgia, Miss Donna L. Cleckley of West Harrington, New York, and Miss Dejana T. Winslow of Goldsboro, North Carolina. His beloved brother, Mr. DeTravius Cleckley, his loving grandparents, Ms. Annette Watts Williams of Leslie, Georgia, and Mr. O.C. Williams of DeSoto, Georgia, Ms. Sherry Slap Cleckley of Camilla, Georgia, and Mr. Maurice R. Cleckley of Americus, Georgia. His beloved uncles, Mr. Oscar Williams III of DeSoto, Georgia, Mr. Derinsky T. Cleckley of Atlanta, Georgia, a host of cousins, other relatives, and many sorrowing friends survived Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley, age 20, of 1366 Dayspring Trace, Lawrenceville, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley, age 20, will be announced at a later date, pending the healing of his beloved mother, who's been hospitalized. As soon as she is able to be released, funeral arrangements will be announced. Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Sr., age 89, of 4935 West Road, Byronville, Georgia, died Friday, November 24th at the Cordele Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. Survivors include his loving and devoted children, Mr. Andrew Felton and Miss Bernice McGee, both of Byronville, Georgia. Mr. Crandall Postdale, and Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Jr., and his wife, Mrs. Stephanie Johnson, all of Cordele, Georgia. 14 beloved grandchildren, a number of great-grandchildren, his beloved and devoted sister, Mrs. Calden Johnson Wallace of Vienna, Georgia, his beloved brother, Mr. Jimmy Lee Johnson, and his wife, Evangelist Eva Johnson of Albany, Georgia, a host of beloved nieces, nephews, cousins, other relatives, and many, many sorrowing friends survive. Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Sr., age 89, of 4935 West Road, Byronville, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Sr., age 89, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. Miss Ella Mae Jackson Harvey, age 83, of 907 Davenport Street, Americus, Georgia, died Friday, November 24th at the Magnolia Manor in Americus, Georgia. Survivors include her loving and devoted children, Miss Diana Willis and her husband, Mr. Johnny Willis of Albany, Georgia, Mr. Joe Jackson and Miss Sharon Johnson, Miss Tracy Manning, and Mr. Dennis Best, Mr. Calvin Harvey, and Miss Gloria Postdale, all of Americus, Georgia. 22 grandchildren, a number of great-grandchildren, her beloved sister, Miss Josephine Smith of Americus, Georgia, her beloved brothers, Mr. Walter Jackson Sr., Miss Letha McCord, Mr. Robert Jackson and his wife, Mrs. Ovita Jackson, Mr. Andrew Jackson and his wife, Mrs. Gussie Jackson, all of Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Ella Mae Jackson Harvey, age 83, of 907 Davenport Street, Americus, Georgia, will be announced at a later date, pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors, serving Cordele and Vienna, are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Friends, that conclude our funeral notices for this morning. And as always, we do remind you concerning our pre-funeral arrangements planning available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, with packages available with a single pay, a 3-year pay, a 5-year pay, and a 10-year pay. So please stop by and talk with us concerning your pre-funeral arrangements needs available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And also whole life insurance is available at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. And now for announcements. The New Poplar Springs Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia, invites everyone to their leadership workshop Saturday, December 2nd at 10 a.m. Miss Loretta Reed of the House of Hope of Atlanta, Georgia, will be the facilitator. Pastor Johnny Dean, pastor, New Poplar Springs Baptist Church, Byronville, Georgia. The Friendship Baptist Church of Findlay, Georgia, annual Christmas program will be Wednesday, December 6th at 7 p.m. Dr. Beverly Bolden, pastor of the Pleasant Valley Baptist Church in Pinehurst, Georgia, will be the guest minister. Everyone is invited to attend. Sister Inez Johnson, secretary. The Reverend Joseph Atkins is the pastor. The Lebanon Baptist Church of 403 South Hudson Street, Plains, Georgia, 103rd Ushers Anniversary will be observed today, Sunday, November 26th at 11 a.m. The Ushers President, Deacon J.C. Bryant, will speak on behalf of the ushers. The pastor, Reverend Christopher O'Brien, will deliver the morning message. Everyone is invited to attend. Brother J.C. Bryant Jr., Ushers President, Deacon Eric Bryant, Chairman of Deacons, and the Reverend Christopher O'Brien, Pastor. Freedom Harvey Worship Center, 184 Holly Street, Leslie, Georgia, will celebrate the 13th anniversary of their pastor, Sunday, December 3rd at 2:30 p.m. The McAfee Grove Baptist Church and pastor, Dr. Robert Morgan, will be in charge of the anniversary service. Everyone is invited. Dr. Georgia Daraso, pastor. The McAfee Grove Baptist Church, Highway 19 North, Leesburg, Georgia, invites everyone to worship with them family night, Tuesday at 7 p.m., small class studies, Thursday at 7 p.m., Sunday worship service at 9 a.m. Everyone is invited. The user code is 425-436-6341, 425-436-6341. Minister Trawanda Daniels, Secretary, Dr. Robert L. Morgan Sr., Pastor, McAfee Grove Baptist Church, Leesburg, Georgia. The New Corinth Baptist Church, Hooksmill Road, Leslie, Georgia, invites everyone to worship with them each third Sunday at 10 a.m. Deacon Johnny Griffin, Chairman of Deacons, and the Reverend Carl Smith is the pastor. The Bethel CME Church, Cordele, Georgia, 127th church anniversary will be observed today, Sunday, November 26th at 11 a.m. The pastor, Reverend Veronica Smith, will deliver the morning message. At 3 p.m., the Reverend Willie Earl Lockett, pastor of the Greater Pines Chapel Church, will deliver the anniversary message. Everyone is invited to attend. Reverend Veronica Smith, pastor. West Central Community Action Council will accept applications for Georgia Heating and Assistance December 1st, 2023 for those residents age 65 and older or medically homebound. This will be held at the Dowdy Center, 1129 North 5th Street, Cordele, Georgia. For further assistance, please call 478-472-3607. For further assistance, please call 478-472-3607. Office hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. until 5 p.m., Friday from 8 a.m. until 12 noon. Again, West Central Community Action Council will accept application for Georgia Heating Assistant December 1st, 2023 for those residents age 65 and older or medically homebound. This will be held at the Dowdy Center, 1129 North 5th Street, Cordele, Georgia. And for further assistance, please call 478-472-3607, 478-472-3607. The Gospel Travelers of Oakville, Georgia, 59th anniversary will be Sunday, December 17th at the Warwick Community Center, 111 Dogwood Street, Warwick, Georgia. On program will be the Georgia Boys of Meigs, Georgia, Precision and Brothers of Christ, Albany, Georgia, Truly Blessed of Albany, Georgia, the Gospel Stars of Lilly, Georgia, the Gospel Kings of Warner Robins, Georgia, Chosen Voices of Ideal Georgia. The doors open at 4 p.m. The program starts at 5 p.m. Admission is free. The Gospel Travelers of Oakfield, Georgia, 59th anniversary, Sunday, December 17, at the Warwick Community Center, 111 Dogwood Street, Warwick, Georgia. The Cordell Chris County branch of the NAACP Annual Freedom Fund Banquet will be Saturday, January 13, 2024 at Blackshear Place Event Center. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, please contact Sister Dorothy Bryan or any member of the local branch. Ms. Kathy McGill, Branch Secretary, the Reverend Isaac Owens, Branch President. The Mount Zion First African Baptist Church conference call schedule Sunday morning worship at 10 a.m., prayer Mondays, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon. Bible study each Wednesday at 5 p.m. The call-in number is 339-209-6419. Call-in number 339-209-6419. Deacon Joe Wedges, Chairman of Deacons, and Dr. Dan James III, Pastor. The Gethsemane Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Mother Mary Butler, Church Mother, Deacon Johnny Wilson, Chairman of Deacons, and the Reverend Cecil Strawder is the pastor. The New Oak Grove Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday. Sunday school at 9:15, worship at 10 a.m. Face covering is required. Sister Letha Askew, church clerk and trustee, Deacon Alonzo Jones, Chairman of Deacons, and the Reverend W. Wilson is the pastor. The Beautiful Zion Baptist Church Men and Women's Day will be Sunday. It invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday at 11 a.m. Beautiful Zion Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday at 11 a.m. Mother Grace Patrick, Church Mother, the Reverend Lorenda Ray is the pastor. The Greater Thumb Creek Baptist Church invites everyone to worship with them each Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Mother Norma Solomon, Church Mother, Deacon Lenny Hoggerbrook, Chairman of Deacons, and the Reverend Joseph Hoggerbrook is the pastor. You're invited to worship with the Greater Morris Tabernacle Baptist Church today with Sunday school at 9 a.m. with the superintendent, Deacon John Stubbs, and Deacon Donald Talbot in charge. Morning worship at 9:30 a.m. Mother Mary Henderson, Church Mother, Deacon Tommy Ford Jr., Chairman of Deacons, Dr. K.M. Williams is the pastor. Friends, that conclude our announcements for this morning, and we do pray that you would govern yourselves accordingly. And now for dedication. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: in loving memory of Mrs. Sarita C. Hinton, who departed this life November 19, 2011, dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Mr. Boris Lamar, who departed this life, dedication requested by the Lamar family, precious memory lingers still. In loving memory of Mother Bobby May Fagan, who departed this life November 23rd, 2017. Dedication requested by all of her beloved children, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the entire family. Member Mother Bobby May Fagan, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Miss Thelma Barrett, who would have celebrated her birthday November 23rd, dedication requested by her beloved children, grandchildren, the Barrett and Johnson family, and the members of the Greater Marsh Tabernacle Baptist Church. Pause and remember the life and service of Miss Thelma Barrett, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of retired educator Mr. Benjamin Murray, who would have celebrated his birthday November 25th, dedication requested by the Harmon Murray and Carr family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Miss Minnie Lamar, dedication requested by the Lamar, Jones, Fields, and Jackson family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Miss Carolyn Brooks, who would have celebrated her birthday November 27th, dedication requested by her beloved mother, Deaconess Carrie Brooks, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. In loving memory of Miss Evelyn Pope, who would have celebrated her birthday November 29th, dedication requested by her beloved husband, her children, grandchildren, and the entire family, gone but not forgotten. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following. Happy birthday to Miss Edna Mae Clay, who celebrated her birthday Thursday, November 16th. Dedication requested by her daughter, Miss Barbara, and Mr. Keith Bryant, her grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the entire family. Happy birthday, Miss Edna, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Miss Oranda Milligan, who celebrated her birthday Saturday, November 18th. Dedication requested by her parents, grandparents, and the entire family. Happy birthday to Miss Audra Faye Outlaw, who celebrated her birthday Sunday, November 19th. Dedication requested by Miss Shanita Grace. Happy birthday to our own Mr. Jaquavius Jackson, better known as Scooter, who is celebrating his birthday today, Sunday, November 19th. Dedication requested by his parents, Miss Shamika and Mr. Octavius, his brother Tristan, mother Deaconess President Cassandra Jackson, the entire Jackson and Edward family, and the staff of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home, and the members of the Greater Marsh Tabernacle Baptist Church, all says happy birthday to Jaquavian Jackson, better known as Scooter. Happy birthday, Scooter, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Miss Brenda Fletcher Green, who celebrated her birthday Friday, November 24th. Dedication requested by her husband, Deacon Winford Green, her mother, Mother Minnie Fletcher, and the entire family. Happy birthday to my niece, Miss Asia Dawson, who is celebrating her birthday today, Sunday, November 26th. Dedication from her children, her beloved mother, Miss Rosalind Porter, and the entire family. Happy birthday, Asia. Happy birthday to Miss Sabrina Field, who is celebrating her birthday today, November 26th. Dedication requested by her husband, Mr. Norman Field, and the entire family. My cousin, Miss Sabrina Fields, happy birthday, and many, many more. Happy birthday to Mr. Kenneth Grace, who is celebrating his birthday today, Sunday, November 26th. Dedication comes from his beloved wife, Mrs. Shanita Grace, the children, grandchildren, and the entire family. Deacon Kenneth Grace. Our first selection this morning is dedicated to the following: Deacon James Smith and family, Deacon Henry King of the Gethsemane Baptist Church and church mother, Mother Mary Butler, Mother Willie Mae Leary and family of Hatley, Georgia, Mrs. Erling Lango and family, Miss Pauline Jones and family, Miss Marion Golfin and family, Mr. A.J. and Miss Vera Rivers and family, Deacon Willie Colson and Mother Vanessa Colson and the entire Colson family, the Reverend and Mrs. Ivory Corbin and family, Miss Kiana Young and family, Mother Melan Hawkins and family, Deacon Johnny Hawkins and family, Deacon William Hawkins and family, Brother Herman Williams and family, Mr. Jeffrey Walker and family, Mr. Roderick and Miss Leanne Simmons and family. Deacon Charlie and Mrs. Mary Jean Akins and family, Mr. Andrew Green and family, Ms. Brenda Allen and family, Ms. Jeanette Lewis Johnson and family, Ms. Roosevelt Smith and family, Mrs. Bernice Hester and family, Ms. Clara Collier and family, Overseer Annie and Minister Leroy Reynolds and family, Vienna, Georgia, Mr. Jeffrey Bernard Herman and family, Ms. Monica Westbrook and family, Deacon Leroy and Ms. Diane Thomas and family, Mrs. Shirley J. Taylor and family, Mr. Sammy Taylor and family, Ms. Johnny Lawson and family, Deacon George Jordan and family, Mr. Joe and Mrs. Rosemary Brown and family, Mrs. Shanika Miller Coley and family, Mrs. Donna Moreau and family, Ms. Gladys Grace and family, Mr. Willie Frank Miller Jr. and family, Mr. Warren and Ms. Gladys Adderley and family, Ms. Annette Stembridge and family, Mrs. Geraldine Harvey and family, Mrs. Sidney Ruff and family, Mother Grace Patrick and family, Ms. Willie Mae Crapp and family, Mrs. Dorothy Williams and family, Mrs. Florine Manning and family, Mrs. Janice Montfrey and family, Mother Mary Henderson and family, Mr. and Mrs. Norman Fields and family, Mr. A.B. and Ms. Valerie Levant and family, Mrs. Dorothy Rose Jones and family, Ms. Annette Stembridge and family, Judge and Mrs. Willie Earl Lockett and family, the Reverend Dion and Miss Cynthia Jones and family, Mrs. Nancy Butler and family. It is certainly with the deepest regret that we make the following announcement. Mr. Charles Johnson Jr., age 73 of 5150 U.S. Highway 41 North, Ashburn, Georgia, died Monday, November 20th at the Tift General Hospital in Tifton, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Charles Johnson Jr., age 73, will be held Thursday, November 30th at 11 a.m. in the sanctuary of the Madison Avenue Church of God by Faith in Ashburn, Georgia. The pastor, Dr. Larry Coffey, will officiate. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Garden in Ashburn, Georgia. The public visitation will be Wednesday, November 29th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mrs. Lucille Hillman, age 83 of 715 Story Street, Ashburn, Georgia, died Tuesday, November 21st at the Emory St. Joseph Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Lucille Hillman, age 83, will be held Thursday, November 30th at 2:30 p.m. in the sanctuary of the Greater St. Luke Baptist Church in Ashburn, Georgia, with the minister selected officiating. The burial will follow at the Westview Memorial Garden in Ashburn, Georgia. The public visitation will be Wednesday, November 29th from 1 until 5 p.m. at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley, age 20, of 1366 Dayspring Trace, Lawrenceville, Georgia, died Saturday, November 11th at Wellstar North Fulton Hospital in Lawrenceville, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley, age 20, will be announced at a later date pending the recovery of his beloved mother. Mr. Roy Lee Dawson, age 61, of 309 West 28th Avenue, Cordele, Georgia, died Monday, November 20th at the Cordele Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordele, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Roy Lee Dawson, age 61, will be held Saturday, December 2nd, 2023 at 10 a.m. in the chapel of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home in Cordele, Georgia. The burial will follow at the Vienna City Cemetery in Vienna, Georgia. Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Senior, age 89, of 4935 West Road, Byronville, Georgia, died Friday, November 24th at the Cordial Health and Rehabilitation Center in Cordial, Georgia. The funeral service for Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Sr., age 89, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. Mrs. Ella Mae Jackson Harvey, age 83, of 907 Davenport Street, Americus, Georgia, died Friday, November 24th at the Magnolia Manor in Americus, Georgia. The funeral service for Mrs. Ella Mae Jackson Harvey, age 83, will be announced at a later date pending the completion of the arrangements. The J.W. Williams Funeral Directors serving Cordial and Vienna are in charge of each of these arrangements during this week. Our final selection for this morning is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones were laid to rest during the past week. The family of Mr. Charlie C. Sneed of DeSoto, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Celestine Virginia Duhart Woodson of Vienna, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Annie Berta Hall Terrell of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mother Willie Mae Carroll Crane of Pinehurst, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to the bereaved families whose loved ones will be laid to rest during this week. The family of Mr. Charles Johnson Jr. of Ashburn, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Lucille Hillman of Ashburn, Georgia. The family of Mr. DeQuavius Tremaine Cleckley of Lawrenceville, Georgia. The family of Mr. Roy Lee Dawson of Cordele, Georgia. The family of Mr. Mandel Lee Johnson Sr. of Byronville, Georgia. The family of Mrs. Ella Mae Jackson Harvey of Americus, Georgia. This selection is dedicated to all of the sick and shut-in, to all patients in the local and surrounding hospitals, nursing homes, and rehabilitation centers, to our beloved ministers and our devoted family members, to all retired educators, to the men and women serving in armed forces, both stateside and abroad, to all veterans, and to everyone who listens to our program on each Sunday morning. It's a pleasure for us to bring it to you. Our program goes out in memory of our past president, Dr. Napoleon Williams, to my wife, Mrs. Calandra Wilkerson Parker, to my son, Jai Wilkerson Parker. This selection goes out to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Billy Ann Hall and family, my brother, retired Chief Master Sergeant Norman F. Dexton, his wife, Dr. Gwendolyn Maxine Dexton, their grandson, Noble, and to their daughter, Toria, and to the son, and that son, this morning, all celebrating Thanksgiving together. Goes out to my sister, Mrs. Patsy Jackson, and her husband, Mr. Jim Jackson of Cordele, Georgia. This letter goes out to my nephew, Deacon Kenneth Smith, program chairman of the Greater Morris Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church, staff pastor Dr. K.M. Williams, his wife, Sister Kathy Williams, and family. This selection goes out to Mr. Cleveland R. Lemon, oldest staff member of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home. Mr. Cleveland R. Lemon, oldest staff member of the J.W. Williams Funeral Home and steward of the Bethel CME Church here in the city of Cordele, Georgia. This selection goes out to our beloved Miss Easter May Sanders and family. Goes out to my niece, Mrs. Vera Mathis, who celebrated her birthday on yesterday. Had a glorious celebration there. Miss Vera Mathis, I say happy birthday to Vera and many, many more. This selection goes out to Mr. Charlie and Mrs. Watine Jackson and family, Mr. Ernie, Miss Lisa Bryan and family, Miss Lavinia James and family, Miss Lily Crane and family, Miss Shanta K. Bowens and family, Mrs. Patsy Carter and family, Vienna, Georgia, Miss Mary Taylor and family, Mrs. Retired Educator, Miss Lucille G. Harris and family, Deacon Tommy and Miss Gradine Ford and family, Miss Mary Frances Davis and family, Mr. Joseph Glenn and family, Miss Mary Taylor and family, Mother Willie McGill and family, Mr. and Mrs. Judge Glenn and family, Miss Nellie Whitis and family, Miss Burroughs Patrick and family, Miss Gail Chanel Williams and family, Mr. Frederick Hardeman and family, Mr. Lonnie Walker and family, Miss Eddie Mae Cooks and family, Mother Jessie Kate Harmon and family. This selection goes out to our dear friend and brother of long standing, the Reverend Johnny Dean, pastor of the New Poplar Spring Baptist Church of Byronville, Georgia, and our dear friend and brother, Deacon Jimmy Charles Montfrey, and the members of the Crossroad Baptist Church's pastor, the Reverend Nelson Maynard, and family, church mother, Mother Eileen Payne, and family. Our final selection for this morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed our program. Tune in again on next Sunday morning. In your time of need, contact the competent, capable, and dependable staff at the J.W. Williams Funeral Home.
Some of these days, when